Are they overrated or not?
We just don't see eye to eye on New York.
There is no time for New York for real to figure this out.
They absolutely have time, Terrika.
Reeta disagree because you do not have time.
Their location and the expectation for them is different than for Las Vegas.
The expectation was you would come here and you would win.
And I don't want to use the word excuses, but there are just different challenges that are arising with this team.
Stewie ain't gonna drop 45 every night.
I do think that at this moment, they are overrated.
And it ain't fair. Life ain't fair, but that's the reality.
Well, Terrika, she's owning up to it. We saw the words, we saw the video. We're going to hold her in the court of public opinion as Terrika Foster-Brasby gets ready to join us. But look, she said she's been disrespectful and she apologizes. So stop coming at her mentions, all right? She's a grown woman and she's saying what she said. And she's going to backtrack just a bit probably after the performance that we saw the New York Liberty have. So excited to bring our friend Terrika. And Terrika, change the face. Come on, there we go. We need to smile. All right, we're gonna let you have the floor and have the carpet because, like many of us WNBA fans, we all saw last night the Commissioner's Cup. And Terrika, the New York Liberty, they look like the real deal. Consecutive wins now against a top team, right, in the Las Vegas Aces. So all in all, you said you had some questions about them. I know you were scratching your head. You just didn't believe. But after the game that we saw last night, the defensive performance, holding the Aces under 65, and then we saw their starters struggling in New York coming out, looking good overall. Jonquel Jones, look at the picture there. Terrika, I'm going to give you the floor to talk about how your mind has perhaps now changed on this New York Liberty team and your New York state of mind.
Well, I definitely said I needed them to do this more than once, right? Anybody can beat a team once, but if you can go in there and show out the way that you did more than once, then I got to fall back a little bit right now. I want to be clear. I want to set the record straight. If you listen to my comment, I said at this point, New York was overrated, which means at the time of that show, at the time of that recording, New York was overrated. I stand by that because they were playing terrible to begin this year. They were not living up to the expectations. And in my mind, I kept thinking it's going to take a while for this team to gel. And when you play in the New York market, New Yorkers don't give you time to do nothing. They want to win, and they want to win right then and there. And this is what the expectation was for New York. It took them a minute. It took them a little bit less time than I anticipated, but New York is playing phenomenal basketball right now, and they're doing so against what is the best team in the WNBA. They have now given them 2 back-to-back losses, and not just regular losses. They have given them routes, like dominating performances, which cannot be overlooked. Secondly, they did so this time in Las Vegas. Now, I get it. The Commissioner's Cup does not count towards records. So it still looks as if that Las Vegas only has 3 losses on this season, but realistically, this is demoralizing in a way because what you have had to your credit is that you've been able to overrun teams in your house on your floor. New York has just gone in there and taken something that no other team has been able to do. They look great. They had a lot of depth on their bench, and Jonquel Jones, sis, show up there, because I was worried about you at the beginning of this season. I was like, where is JJ? That's an MVP. What is going on? JJ showed up and showed out last night. 16 points, 15 boards, held Asia to 9 points on the defensive end. I've got nothing. New York, my bad. I was disrespectful. I ain't let y'all cook for real.
There we go.
It's not you. It was me. Okay.
Sometimes it takes a big person to come out and say I was wrong. Because, sometimes, you got to admit it. And it's hard to do, but you got to do it sometimes. And you already alluded to the fact that although this loss didn't necessarily count towards their record, it's still 4 losses. And 2 of them are against the Liberty. So, last night they only shot, 19% from the 3, 33% overall. Is it safe to say that the Liberty are the Aces kryptonite? Should we be concerned about this when it comes to their title hopes?
Absolutely. Absolutely. A month ago, I would have said absolutely not. But today, after a loss, the way that they have over the last 2 meetings, and granted, they're going to see each other again on Thursday. So team each other 5 times this season because of the Commissioner's Cup. And what happens very similarly to when you're playing in a series, you start to learn your opponents. You start to learn how to make adjustments. So it's going to be interesting to see how Las Vegas bounces back. But at this moment, at this point in time, I'm going to stress that 2 more times right now. I would be concerned if I'm Las Vegas because they're taking advantage of your bench. 28 points to 8. That was how much they outscored. Maureen Johannes came off the bench and scored 17 points in 4 minutes. Sis couldn't miss from 3. I think that it definitely makes you wonder how the Aces are going to continue to adjust when this team is starting to find ways to make sure that everybody in their starting 5 knows how to contribute. They also did a great job of maintaining that core 4. Kelsey Plum, Chelsea Gray, Asia Wilson, Jackie Young, they tried to do their best with putting pressure on them and making sure that they couldn't get in the lane to get nothing. They held down the paint to say, listen, we can't get nothing. And I know some people probably said earlier this month, or at least at the end of last month, well, Candace Parker missing, that's probably not a big deal for this team. I disagree. So did my co-host LaChina, and so did a lot of people who understand basketball. Candace Parker gives depth, she gives defense, she gives additional size inside, and they don't have that. So these are the kind of things that we kind of saw with her being out, that this team was going to be the margin for error was going to be a bit smaller with her out of the lineup. But I don't think anybody saw this happening, and it definitely makes us look forward to Thursday.
Definitely looking forward to Thursday because, as you said, Terrika, these games haven't been close. I believe it's 24.7 point differential. Like when we were looking at the schedule this season coming out, we thought these were going to be battles, right, coming down to the wire. But no one said. Instead, we've seen teams dominate. And Terrika, that gets us excited now about the MVP race that once again is coming up. And once again, we have familiar characters. We just saw them play last night. We're going to see them play, as you said, Thursday night. And here we come back between Asia Wilson and, of course, Stewie. They've given us 40 pieces. I mean, these girls obviously can ball. So, Terrika, looking at this, and we're also looking at what some would say is a potential finals matchup. I mean, literally, this is giving us everything. Like, it's WNBA fans' Christmas, essentially, right now. But as you look at the MVP race between these two, and I'm going to say at this point, or I'll do my Deontay Wilder, till this day, who would you say right now has the edge, Terrika, in the MVP race so far between those two?
Okay, so between those two, I gotta say the edge right now goes to Breanna Stewart, but I am not discounting Alyssa Thomas as an MVP candidate. Granted, I know that Connecticut is coming off of a 2-game losing streak and have kind of been out of the conversation over the last couple of weeks, but just the fact that how important she's been to that team and what she's been able to do and how she's been able to create history in this league this year, I'm not at all discounting the fact that Alyssa Thomas could very well be the MVP when this is all said and done. But right now, between Asia and Breanna, and again, this is fluid. I reserve the right to change my mind depending on how they play. But right now, I'm going to give the edge to Breanna Stewart for sure.
I love that. You absolutely have the right to change your mind. So I'm sure at the beginning of the season, you were probably like, okay, the Las Vegas Aces are going to repeat. This is easy work, right? Not necessarily easy work, but this feels like an easy pick. Do we still feel confident about that? Or do we feel like, I'm still confident, but maybe, or do you say, I'm not really so sure at this moment?
Nope. One thing I will say is when it came time to give my early season predictions, I said, I feel like Las Vegas will be in the finals. I have no idea who they'll play, and I have no idea who will win. So I did predict that they'd be there, but I didn't predict that they would win because in this league, very similar to the NFL, it's any given night. Any given day, any team can show up and play phenomenally and figure out how to beat you. But again, any team can beat you once. It's different when you're playing them in a series. It's different when you really got to know a team, make adjustments, learn them day in, day out. That's hard. And I still think that beating this Las Vegas team in a 5-game series is hard. I wasn't at all sold that it would be New York. I feel a lot better now that New York could absolutely be the other half of that finals matchup. But we still got about 4.5 weeks left. The season ends on September 13th. So we'll see. We see what the top 3 look like right now. I'm pretty secure that top 3 will remain the same. who knows what will happen with the other teams. I'm not counting out the Los Angeles Sparks making it into the playoffs. They have been on a 3-game win streak. They're starting to get back healthy, so they could sneak in there. Elena Deladon is working her way back. We saw Shakira Austin come back for the Washington Mystics, so they could be moving up in the standings. So there's still a lot of time left in this season for a team to present themselves. And you guys know too, as with the most sports, when it comes to the playoffs, it's all about peaking at the right time, right? You don't want to hit your stride too early and then come playoff time, you start losing. But you also don't want to be so much in a funk that you're fighting to get your way out. So it's all about peaking at the right time. And I think that these teams have played each other enough this season to know what they need to do, that come late August, early September, we'll have a much better view of who actually could be the teams to match up very well against Las Vegas and or New York.
The nail on the head. Like, we knew these were super teams coming into it. I'm so glad, though, that you shouted out the Connecticut Sun. I know they're about a game away, right, from clinching that playoff spot, which should come very soon. Alyssa Thomas, by the way, is a Terp, so she's from our neck of the, play for our neck of the woods. And just glad to see her getting her flowers. Had to shout her out there. And I'm so glad, Terrika, that you shouted out the Washington Mystics, because here in DC, there's still lots of hope and lots of hype. You talked about Shakira Austin coming back from that hip strain, standing ovation. I mean, she said it. She said she loves the fans of DC. It was so huge. You talked about EDD, who hopefully any day now can return. And then they gave the bag to Ariel Atkins, Terrika. So you're looking at a piece, a well-deserved piece. And again, talking about health. And so some are saying, I know your co-host LaShina Robinson said, a healthy Mystics team. She said they could be a problem potentially. Wow. And they're getting kind of healthy at the right time, right? At the end of the season, as we look at playoff standings. Any other teams, Terrika, that we should be looking out for as fans look at these WNBA standings, and who could potentially make some noise and maybe become the new champion this season?
Yeah, I have no clue who could become the champion. I am so clueless because these teams are wild. But I would say everyone keep your eye out on the Atlanta Dream. Tanisha Wright know what she's doing, and she's doing something serious down there in Atlanta. So don't sleep on the Dream. And of course, the Dallas Wings. Now, they've been under a little bit of a skid right now. They've got to figure out how to get defensively back into these games. They haven't been shooting the ball well either. But Satu Sabali, she's my leading candidate for most improved player. She has carried this team over the last couple of games. Exclusively just her point presence and the way that she's been so poised in moments where it feels like this team should be out of it. Her, along with Arike and Natasha Howard, love what they're doing in Dallas. I would not count those two out. And they have also had W's over New York and over the Aces. So they are certainly a team that, if they can figure out how to get back on track and continue that momentum into the playoffs, could really be scary.
Before we let you go, Terrika, it is football season. It's coming up, and we know that you are an Indianapolis Colts fan. And I don't know if you know this, but Anthony Richardson, he doesn't know this either, but he's my nephew as far as I'm concerned. I am a Florida Gator fan, so I've watched the young man in college, and he is projected as the starter for the Colts. Obviously, they went out and got, I believe, Gardner Minshew, and we thought that he would at least start the season, and then eventually they would bring in Richardson. But now they've already said, no, we're going to go ahead and let him just do what he does. So what's your thoughts on Richardson being named the starter for the Indianapolis Colts?
Love it. Chef's kiss. Absolutely love it. Listen, one thing this team got to continue to do is take risks. Right? When you drafted this kid in the position that you drafted him, you knew the talent that you were getting, right? When you hired the coach that you hired in Shane Steichen, you knew that you were hiring someone who had the proof in the pudding with Jalen Hurts and what he was able to do in transforming that talent. So you've got to take this risk. No shade, Gardner. I mean, I rock with you now because you're wearing the blue and white, you repping the horseshoe. So it's no shade, but you got to go with A-Rich. And I just love what this kid potentially can be able to do. When you're giving me a quarterback that got the athleticism of a Cam Newton and the body style of a Lamar Jackson, bruh, I'm rolling with that every time.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how he translates into the NFL. I mean, I just really think that he was fun to watch. Although, I really wondered if he should have stayed back for another year. But look, I also understand the business is the business. And if you're going to be a top 5 pick projected, you got to get out while you can, because that money be calling. You know what I mean? But
that part.
But yeah, for sure, Kelsey. I mean, I'm sure you can understand. Hey, he had to get out when he could, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Terrika said it, 6'4", 244 pounds. Why would you not want that to be your quarterback? We talked about the dual threat that he could be on his legs and also getting it done with his arms. I think, obviously the big question around him, though, was his amount of reps, right? Because you look at from when he left Florida in high school, you look at his college record and how long he played. I believe it's about 14 starts, but at the same time, if you're a diamond in the rough and if you're good, you're going to be ready to play. I know we only had a small sample size of what we saw in preseason, but I don't think the Colts have anything to lose, Terrika, right now. I mean, put him out there, see what he can do. You signed Gardner Minshew to a 1-year contract. You got him as a backup if need be. So he's somebody, I think he's been waiting to prove himself. So I truly do hope he balls out. All my families in Indy, so I know they're also rooting for him. But I also think it has to make you feel confident that the coach named him QB1 at the time that he did. I think, you feel like you have coach's confidence. And now he just has to go out there and prove himself. So, Terrika, we're going to be looking forward to your tweets come football season, whether good or bad, hopefully more good than bad. But hopefully he's the guy for you, Terrika.
We can't get any worse. From Carson Wentz to Matt Ryan, we can't possibly get any worse.
Hey, thank you for watching Brother from Another. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do that now. Don't forget you can catch us 3 to 4 weekdays on PeacockTV.com and on Sirius XM Channel 85.